She's the hostess.
Okay, so I'll get this conference going. Boy, we had a busy weekend. The lines just did not stop. One of the comments I heard from people was that once they got through the campaigning in the garage, it was a smooth procedure. There were a lot of people out there in the garage electioneering, which is always part of early voting here and anywhere else in the nation. We voted on Saturday, 2,469 people in 8 hours, and then on Sunday, in just 4 hours, we voted 1,507 people. In total, we have voted 37,049 people as of 7 p.m. last night.
Okay. Did you just see what that said?
So we have surpassed our 2016 number of early in-person voters by about 3,000 already. So, the last weekend's always our busiest. We're ready for it, and we've got a great staff. They wanted to let you know they're working hard, and they like donuts. Because I just said, should we tell the press anything? Everything's going well. We're keeping up with everything that's being mailed in is being accepted and processed. You can track your ballot on Track My Ballot icon on our webpage, and the voters really seem to like that, so they know what's going on with their ballot. If you see issue on it, it means there's something wrong, not wrong, something you didn't complete on your identification envelope. So make sure that you sign that ID envelope and you also include your date of birth. They're the most important things on that ID envelope when you send your ballot back. So today is October 27th. The Secretary of State has recommended that requests for absentee ballots should be by today because under the law, that Saturday at 12 noon, if you request your ballot, then you're not going to get it. It's just not possible for you to get it from us to mail it to you, and for you to fill it out, and for the mail to get back to us. So we're picking today as the deadline for you to get your applications for an absentee ballot here at the Board of Elections. You can drop those applications in our drop box, which is outside, or we have a drop box in our lobby here in the administration building. So I'll open the floor to questions.
And can you just go over the numbers, the early in-person voting, and then how many requests for the mail-in ballots?
The numbers I just gave you, you want to go over those again?
Yeah, I didn't get them when I was recording. I apologize. Just want to make sure.
Okay. Saturday, we had 2,469. Sunday, 1,507. Monday, 2,785. For a grand total since early voting started, 37,049 voters. That's about 3,500 more than we had in 2016 at the end of the game. So we're seeing a lot more early in-person voters and a lot more absentee ballot requests. We've got over 100,000 absentee ballot requests currently.
No, at one time they said something like you were actually somewhere close to 124,000. Do you know?
Yes, and that includes people who were voting in person as well.
Okay,
that number's combined.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have at least 137 now between the requests and the in-person, because you're up to 37,000 in person.
So if you go to our website, it's showing data for 143,048 records. So that would be the total I'd go with, Mike, to report.
Okay.
And that includes mail, in-office, nursing home, and UACAVA.
Which is the military?
Military and overseas voters.
Okay. So since this will be the last day for mail-in balloting, now you'll have in-person through, I think, next Monday at 2. Is that
correct?
The last in-person? Okay. So kind of, as you mentioned last week, you're sort of turning your attention to a week from today at the polling places. What do people need to do to make sure they have the right polling place? What's the easy way to do?
Go right to our website, and I'm on it now, so I will read to you guys the quickest link on the front page of the website, and it is find polling location by name or find polling location by address. And when you pull that information up, it will give you not only your polling location, but directions and a Google map to that location.
And there have been just a few changes due to, you know, the moving them out of senior citizen centers, some assisted living centers, and then I think there was one church fire over the weekend that you may have to.
There was one church fire over the weekend, so we're working with DP&L to get power back to the gym where we always have voting, and we're not 100% sure if that's going to be available, but we'll let those voters know as soon as we know. But we're pretty sure we'll have voting at that location.
Okay. And then what, in terms of people, you know, a week from today, what are you telling them about what they should expect in terms of lines and the fact not to panic if they see a long line because of COVID? It can make lines look, you know, longer.
Right. And I would really shout out to people to please, you know, honor the 6-foot distancing, because we're getting lines here in the garage, and when people get in the building, they're a little bit better about it, but not in the garage. And we've gotten some complaints from the public health department from voters. So just please maintain that 6-foot social distance. And as far as election day, yeah, it's going to look like the lines are longer because of the 6-foot social distancing, and because we cannot process as many voters as we normally could, because we can't use all of our machines because of the 6-foot distancing requirement. So, you know, we're operating off, you know, sometimes 60% less machines or 40% less machines in a given location at any time compared to what we were doing, you know, just in 2019 for the general because of COVID. So just be patient with your people that are processing you. They're there to help you and to make our democracy work. And, you know, everybody's doing really well. We feel that we are on top of our game here. We're processing. We're not behind in any way, shape, or form. And we feel that we've got a good system. We worked long and hard this whole spring and summer to get it down, and we think we've accomplished that. And we've gotten many really nice responses from our voters as to the ease of voting and how well it was run.
And then the last thing that I had was, do you have a word or kind of I don't know if it'd be a warning, but just, it's been superheated rhetoric sometimes on both sides this election cycle, just asking people in terms of electioneering to honor that 100-foot and then be very civil in their activity.
Yeah, you know, people get excited and they're trumping for their candidate. Well, no pun intended there, but you know, they're excited for their candidate and they're out there giving a zealous account of why, you know, you should vote for their person, and that's just part of voting. Electioneering is permitted, and it's part of the whole voting thing.
So as long as they do it legally, they're
Right.
fine.
Absolutely.
But you absolutely, you know, all your precinct captains have been instructed, I'm sure, to, if people will not abide by the election law, you will be calling deputies and things like that.
Yeah, they'll first call us, and we'll call the polling location supervisor, and they will go out and straighten the situation out. And if they can't, we'll send one of our staff. And if that doesn't work, then we're definitely in touch with our police departments or sheriff's office, as we are every year.
Right.
And
again, it's Adam. Apologies if this has been asked already, but can you walk us through election night tabulating? 7:30, the polls close. What is that process going to look like?
7:30, the polls close. We first are able to now tabulate everything we've been processing, and that is, Adam, the absentee ballots that were mailed in and all the persons that voted early here at the Board of Elections. Then what it looks like is about a 45-minute wait until the polling locations are able to secure the data from the scanners, and that's physically brought down to the Board of Elections in cars. We cannot receive that information via internet connection or anything, which is good because that's why it's so safe to vote and safe to keep our records here in Ohio. That data information is then uploaded in our information technology room on a direct line to the Secretary of State's office. And thereafter, that second report, we are on a quarter hour reporting, so we have to report every 15 minutes to the Secretary of State's office until we're done.
There are other states that may be concerned about election security. What about here in Montgomery County? Any concerns whatsoever?
No, I've been in touch with Homeland Security, and we're good. You know, at this point, we haven't been informed of any issues or problems that they foresee.
Thank you.
Janet, you mentioned that today was the last day you wanted to get those requests for absentee ballots, and what's the legal deadline?
The legal deadline is Saturday, Chris, at noon. Our association fought really hard to get that date changed in the last session, but it didn't work. So hopefully next session, they'll be able to do it.
You also mentioned the voters might be presented with some long lines on election day. What besides social distancing might determine how long a wait there is for folks?
How many people show up?
So it'll be turnout.
Yep. Yeah, turnout.
The number of folks at their precinct who vote there as well. Possibly.
Right. There's some, you know, there's some precincts that have, or excuse me, we have 143 polling locations, and some of those locations have 4 and a couple have 5 precincts in them. So there might be longer waits at those larger polling locations. And it might depend on the turnout, you know, might be generated by, you know, a race that's really heated, you know, here in Montgomery County. So those areas might expect a larger turnout.
And would whether a precinct is predominantly Republican or Democrat leaning, could that also be a determining factor?
I'm sorry, can you say that again, Chris?
If a precinct is predominantly Republican or Democratic leaning, could that also factor in?
I think so.
And to kind of touch on what you said earlier about the plan in place, I know that a lot of people have been worried about the Trump army coming for, you know, at the polling locations, you know, disrupting things. Do you have any kind of plan in action if things get too violent?
We do have an emergency plan in action. And again, Peyton, I have been in contact directly with Homeland Security, and some of that is just misinformation or disinformation that's being spread.
And what are the limitations that people have as far as when they're coming, as far as that support or anything being too much? What is a good guideline for kind of how to describe that for people?
In what sense?
Like what would be too much? At what point would kind of be the tipping point for people, for, you know, people getting out of hand?
Well, they'd have to be within the 100 feet. Creating any kind of barrier or interfering with people voting, and it will be determined, you know, on a case-by-case basis. Everything's different. You know, you can see one thing one place and the other place is fine. So it depends on how heated things get, and we're prepared for that as we are every year, and we'll handle it. We won't handle it, but the police departments and the sheriff's office will handle it. So, you know, we've been meeting with them. I can't disclose, you know, our emergency plan, but there is one.
Okay. And do you have any advice for voters who maybe some of them are concerned about this specifically?
There is no concern at this point.
Okay. So there's nothing more on the emergency plan then, just that there is one there?
Yeah, the rumors going around that there's going to be armed militia or something like that is just disinformation.
Oh, no.
And that comes from Homeland Security.
I was just meaning by the emergency plan with the police that you had mentioned. There's nothing more to disclose on that aspect?
No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Homeland Security. Have you met with local officials as well? Sheriff's Department, police?
Yes. We've met with Dayton Police Department, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and emergency management within the county, as well as Homeland Security and the FBI.
Jan, I've been thinking about the denominator this year, and I'm wondering, with the enormous amount of absentee ballots requested, in your experience, how many are outstanding, never returned? Do you expect most of the ones that are outstanding to be returned?
You know, Adam, I can't give you a real number off the top of my head, but I can say that we have had historically a great number or a great percentage returned early this election.
Okay.
I have a
Dan?
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. So we have a couple questions from like voters on our hotline at the station. So one person asked what they should do if they don't receive their absentee ballot before election day, like if they did request it but they did not receive it.
Okay, and who am I talking to? I'm sorry, you're not showing.
Sorry, Colleen Peregrine. I'm with Dayton 24/7 now.
Okay, what to do if they don't get, then I would go to their precinct and vote.
Okay, so they don't have to, will they have to say anything? Like tell you that they didn't receive an absentee ballot?
Yeah, and it'll be marked in the poll book, in the electronic poll book, that they hadn't, that they were mailed an absentee ballot, so we'll know.
Okay.
And we'll,
And then we had someone ask what they should do if they heard a poll worker talking about candidates.
if they've heard a poll worker talking about mention it to the supervisor at the location. And ask who the polling location supervisor or manager is, and they'll be able to handle that. That doesn't justify a phone call to the Board of Elections, unless it's like they're campaigning and handing out literature or something like that. But that should be handled at the local level.
Okay, perfect. And then we had one that was a little odd, but someone wanted to know what happens if someone sends in an absentee ballot but then passes away before Election Day.
Well, if a dead voter can't vote.
Okay, so then that would be flagged and pulled out.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, if they've already voted it, it's going to count because they voted it before they died. But if they're dead, they can't, somebody else, like we've had instances where people say, oh, I know how my dad wanted to vote, or I know how my mom wanted to vote, and voted their ballot, and then we had to send that over to the prosecutor's office for election fraud.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Jan, even in Ohio, if somebody gets their vote in before they die, it still counts? Because
Yes.
it's like that in all the states, correct?
Pardon?
It's not like that in all states, is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a, hey, just jumping off here, and I have some questions like that as well from readers again. If somebody did place their absentee ballot in the box, for instance, but it's not showing up on the ballot tracker, and they're concerned about it, what should their next move be? Do they need to call the board, or?
I've gotten a lot of emails on our website about it, so they can just email the information on our website. And usually I found that after, those questions that they are received. I'm not sure where the voters are looking, but the ballot has been received by the time we get the message on our website. It's not an instantaneous thing. It takes maybe 36 hours, up to 36 hours for us to go through the process of receiving that ballot. So it doesn't mean that just because you put it in the drop box, it's going to show within an hour that we got it. And that might be helpful.
Yeah, here's another question. Someone said that they moved, but they had requested their absentee ballot sent to their own address, their old address. Then they moved. They want to know whether it'll be forwarded, and if not, what they should.
No, the election mail is not forwarded, and that helps, to keep fraud down. Did they move within the county, or where did they move to?
It's not specified.
Okay, if they moved within the county, I'm just trying to think. They had a ballot mailed to them. They moved within the county. They can contact our office, or they can go to their new precinct and vote there.
What do I do, Chuck? I hit stop. I need first.
Any other questions? I've got things I got to do.
Yeah, well, quick. Yeah, I do have a couple more here. And again, what are the protocols given to poll workers for dealing with voters who refuse to wear face masks?
Okay. We do have a protocol for that. First of all, we offer them a face mask. If they refuse the face mask, we offer them curbside voting. If they refuse curbside voting, we welcome them to the Board of Elections or the precinct center to vote, and then they leave.
And then what are the protocols around sanitizing voting machines at the precincts and I suppose at the Board of Elections as well?
We use the sanitizing protocols that have been established by the Board of Health. That includes for the electronic voting machines, alcohol wipes that only staff uses for the express votes, and then disinfecting cloths and sprays for the rest of the areas. We try to do it in between voters if we can. Hand sanitizer, gel. We ask that people don't, slather their hands with hand sanitizer and then get their ballot, because that can mess up the encoding on the ballot, and then we just have to issue them a new one. So just, more is not always good.
Another reader wants to know if they can change their ballot after they voted.
Now, once you ring the bell, it can't be unrung.
But but before they turn it in, if they make their marks and they want
And
to
then they
change,
decide they want a different ballot, they can, it can soil and deface a ballot. They can call and get a new one, but they can't vote. Once they lick the envelope, send it in, it's done. But yeah, if they've made a mistake and decide they wanted to vote for somebody else, we can issue them a new ballot.
okay, and if they've mailed in a ballot and it's damaged, like we talked last week about someone, will the Board of Elections contact the person?
No, we don't contact them. We just remake it
Just
under the
remake
law.
it?
Mhm.
Okay. And then somebody, and you've already touched on this, but somebody wants to know if their traditional voting locations are open November 3rd. Your
Yes.
advice earlier was to still check because some of them.
Sure. Check the poll tracker on our website. And if their polling location had changed, we would have sent them a notification.
Okay.
And they went out, Chris, I think they went out last Friday.